Assalamualaikum and hi. Here is our group presentation about our case study, which is defeating the system, the ethic at Volkswagen. First of all, I want to tell about our group. We are from Group 7, which is come from 4 members, Nabiha Zamiruddin, Nurul Nashra, me, Siti Aina, and Nurul Fatin. Are you guys ready for our presentation? Here we are. Let's go. First of all, we will go to our case study. Actually, Volkswagen got into one of the worst business ethics scandal in the history. This issue was occurred in 2015, which gave a lot of problems to that company, where the company intentionally circumvented government exhaust tests 4 years by installing the defeat device on the clean diesel vehicles. The defeat device is a motor vehicle hardware, software, or that interfere with even if the vehicle passes formal emission. Like in this case study, the Volkswagen company installing them in the clean diesel vehicle that harm when using it. Clean diesel vehicle is a diesel that can improve the combustion efficiency and can reduce the harmful emission. For example, the popular Honda Civic hybrids produce about 4.5 tons of carbon dioxide gas per year, while for Volkswagen Jetta produce about 6.4 tons per year. This revelation actually shocked to the many given the company's long-standing success in auto industry, where the long-standing success is such a very proud achievement which made the auto industry become more popular. For example, a company had achieved a something big success in doing a project. Volkswagen was founded on 1937 and now become more popular brand. This revelation is where they show to other people about the result of the exhaust test, and with that, others knowing about the installation of the defeat device on the clean diesel vehicles. Furthermore, the company is headquartered in Germany but employs more than 500,000 people around the world. The headquarters here meaning that the premises serving as the managerial and administrative center of an organization. For example, that we can take in the main office of Coca-Cola in Atlanta, where the executive and manager are located. After that, from the case study, it shows where the headquarters in Germany employs a lot of people around the world. At that time, the researchers at the West Virginia University was first discovered on the violation. The researcher is a person whose job involves discovery or verifying information. In this case study, it has been shown by those researchers that discovered something when studying the clean diesel engines. The violation here meaning the acting on something. For example, no justice for the employees in a company by a manager. When they tested the performance of Volkswagen vehicles, where they looking for the process of the vehicles to present to others. So from this, they were surprised to find that in the road emission were already exceed the government allowance almost 40 times. Actually, Volkswagen set aside more than $18 billion to cater for the expenses that would be incurred throughout the campaign. This exit occurred during the test vehicles on the road. For the further investigation by U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, which is EPA, which they found that the vehicles were actually equipped with software. The mean of actually equipped is a supply with the necessary item for a particular purpose, for they be functioning or can be used with better function. In this case study, we can see that the software has been actually equipped in the vehicle of Volkswagen to be function but might be harmful. This could be the essentially 3 emission testing from the installation if the software which mean by the programs and other operating information for perfect running process of that device.
Here I'm going to explain and interpret the words in the case study. In the case study, the diesel engines could detect when they were being tested for emissions. Detect gave meaning of discover or identify the presence of things. Volkswagen's cars that having the defeat device in their engine could detect when they're being tested. The purpose of test is to take a measure or check the quality, performance, reliability of the vehicles before it's been used or spread to other peoples. When they tested the performance of vehicles, they were surprised to find that on-the-road emissions exceed government allowance by almost 40 times and found that the vehicles were actually equipped with software that could essentially trick emissions testing system. The test on Volkswagens also was conducted to see the change of vehicles' performance, so that it can improve the testing results and can do a best correction of the wrong things to ensure that it has better function or can be run perfectly than before. Emissions also were tested during on-road driving rather than in a laboratory and will be verified by external and independent third parties. Once on the road, the vehicles will switch out of the test mode. The vehicles will exchange or swap to a situation that show a test must be done to check how the thing's performance gone through. By enabling a test mode, the vehicles will be able to operate during the test process. As the vehicles would switch out the test mode, it will emitting excessive, which is produce or release something with a greater amount from what had been expected, which is nitrogen oxide pollutants, as the West Virginia University WVU researchers found. With the emissions of these dangerous gases, it can give a harm to people's surrounding and also environment. And once the cars are in on the road mode, nitrogen oxide levels increase by 10 to 40 times the federal standards according to the EPA. After that, EPA's finding covered about 500,000 cars was sold in the United States only, and the cover shows that the extent over which is an amount of area. From the other sources, the EPA's findings cover 482,000 cars also was sold in US, including the Volkswagen's manufacturer Audi A3 and the Volkswagen's models Jetta, Beetle, Golf and Passat. The cars were sold to gain a lot of profit for their company. But later Volkswagen admit and confess the truth that about 11 million cars worldwide were also fit with this software. Info from the other sources also shows that Volkswagen has admit for the first time diesel emission scandal was the result of a collection of failures within a company rather than just the action of rogue engineers. As many as 11 million vehicles worldwide may be affected by this software. It faces the prospect of paying tens of billions of euros in fines and compensations to customers. The company has also been accused by the EPA of modifying software on the 3-liter diesel engines fit to the some Porsche and Audi as well as Volkswagen's models. Volkswagen has denied the claims, which affect at least 10,000 vehicles. It will be a long time before Volkswagen realize all of the damage of this ethical blunder. This shows that the Volkswagens become aware or understand the situation that happens to them. They also does not hiding from its emissions cheating scandals, which the company now says affect some 11 million diesel cars worldwide, and these issues gave a bad damage towards customers, other people, and also environment. For example, by installing so-called defeat devices on their clean diesel vehicles, it will affect performance of fuel economy that gave a big impact to the whole organization. There also will be legal sanctions from governments, private lawsuits, and consumer bans that will impact the company for a long time to come. For example, Switzerland has banned sales of Volkswagen diesel cars in the most severe steps taken so far by government in reaction to the emissions crisis. Not only that, it is also possible that customers in the affected markets will file civil lawsuits or that importers and dealers will assert resource claims against Volkswagen AG and other Volkswagen Group companies. Consumers' ban also will affect the company for a long time because they cannot have customers from other countries which they are not allowed to buying their vehicles. How could such a blatant ethical violation occur? This bad behavior that has been done in open to public will unshamedly occur because of several reasons. From the resources that I gained, it happened because of three factors, which are pressure, opportunity, and rationalization. When those three factors, known by some as a dangerous triad or a fraud triangle, are present simultaneously, we often see employees act unethically. The wrong behavior in an organization or at work, such as poor working conditions, releasing proprietary information, discrimination, and safety violations, also shows that this type of ethical violations can occur in some organizations.
From the case study, sought out is find out of some things such as the investigations into the affair were going well, but the scandal was the result of a chain of errors and it would still take years to sort out this case. Declare that someone or something is responsible for a fault is the meaning of blame. For instance, Chairman Hans Dieter Poch said investigations into the affair were going well, but the scandal was the result of a chain of errors, and it would still take years to say which individuals were to blame. Europe's biggest motor manufacturer said that it steps to improve oversight of engine software development to avoid any future emissions test manipulations. CEO is the highest-ranking executive in a company, such as Martin Kern resigned as Volkswagen's chief executive CEO in September after the Environmental Protection Agency publicly accused the company of manipulating results of emissions tests. Plus, the scandal is nasty gossip about people's private lives. It was revealed in 2015 when Volkswagen admitted to installing cheat devices in its diesel vehicles. This illegal software allowed the car to know when it was undergoing an emissions test and turn on the pollution controls when vehicles were in a test and turn them off at other times. Besides, the indictment of Winterkorn represents the most recent investigation by U.S. criminal authorities. In March 2017, Volkswagen pleaded guilty to criminal charges including the Environmental Protection Agency (EPA) and the California Air Resources Board (CARB) by installing so-called defeat devices in diesel vehicles' emissions control systems, which consist of software designed to recognize whether a vehicle was undergoing standard US. High-ranking executive is a high position of an employee in organization in a job. For instance, Volkswagen has suspended its quality chief and other high-ranking executives during the investigation have not been confirmed by the automaker. It is battling a huge business crisis after admitting it installed software in diesel vehicles that hid the true level of their toxic emissions. Plus, suspended is stopped temporarily due to some causes. As example, Volkswagen suspended 3 other top managers, which are Ulrich Heckeberg, Hans Jacob, and Wolfgang Hertz. Martin Whittington, the former chief executive, resigned in late September, soon after Volkswagen admitted that it had programmed the car to detect when they were being tested and then turned to pollution controls. In fact, some believe that the driven performance-based culture may be more to blame than any individual. Performance-based culture has been described as workers who are dedicated and determined to be greater profits for a company. For instance, Volkswagen's performance-based culture, which pushed engineers to succeed at any cost, had fueled the actions that led to the emissions cheating scandal when the company was unable to meet new EPA emissions standards in 2004. Through the demands of Winterkorn and not wanting to be criticized, Volkswagen employees may have been motivated reinforced its opinion in work. For example, Pete's successor Martin Wertinger reinforces this culture. He wants Volkswagen to be a lead player in the world's largest automobile market, the United States, where it had floundered in the past. Winterkorn simply refused to accept failure of any kind. However, experts point to a long history of unique culture which means differs from others that could have influenced the present Chitin, from its Nazi founders to the tight hold of current ownership by billionaire Porsche family descendants. German state government, and labor unions. Moreover, Wintergen been described as a hard-driving perfectionist, which means a person who refuses a standard shot perfection. As example, he's been classified as a hard-driving perfectionist bent on securing the top spot among global car manufacturers. The U.S. Attorney's Office is committed to pursuing accountability for corporate crimes, and the Winterkorn prosecution is a reflection of that commitment. To show the perfectionist personality characteristic of Winterkorn, he would measure the gaps between cars' doors to make sure they were the perfect measurement, securing the top spot among global car manufacturers, which means production to the worldwide. Former Volkswagen employees said that Winterkorn in particular was known for publicly criticizing, which means judgment on someone and also dressing down his employees. According to a former management trained at the company, Volkswagen had this special culture. This automatically generates fear among employees. Based on the case study, employees is a person who works under another person for salary. By using the employees' fear of losing their job against them and were afraid to admit failure contribute toward employees hiding information on the vehicle's emissions. Plus, commitment is given a cooperation. The company's culture has been described as confident, cutthroat, and insular. Company's culture is goals, attitude, and practice that characterize an organization. For instance, by the New York Times, it appears Worthington's leadership was in concert the company's overall management, which is described as confident, cutthroat, and insular. Starting at the top, such as corporate environment may have been enabled such a massive breach of ethics. Furthermore, culture means the word corporate culture in a company such as backstabbing, while insular is a characteristic of an isolated people. For example, Volkswagen's cutthroat, insular and authoritarian corporate culture led in extreme cases to mistakes being hidden, problems compartmentalized, and accountability viewed as a swear word. Only by tackling this legacy and breaking with the past can Volkswagen move forward. Its new CEO Matthias Müller believe. Thus, if Mueller, company's current CEO, can make good on This pledged to shift Volkswagen's culture to one where workers are not afraid to act ethically. The automaker might just find itself at the top of the heap once again.
It is possible that arrogant led Volkswagen manager to assume that US government or other officials will not discover the misleading emission test. Arrogant is the person that act as if they are superior and more important than others. Leadership experts even say that arrogance can bring down great companies. Managers in this case study can include as top managers who are responsible for making right decisions and establishing plans and goals that affect the entire organization. Example, CEO Martin Whitcomb planned to transform his company into the world's largest automaker. Official is a representative of an organization or government department. Example, judge or justice of the peace and sheriff. What's more problematic is Volkswagen response to the scandal. Problematic is the problem that can affect the company and also someone's reputation. Volkswagen problematic is they took some time and a lot of pressure before Volkswagen finally admit its products were faulty and endangering the health of millions around the world. Scandal is an action or event regarded as morally or legally wrong and causing general public outrage. We can see that Volkswagen emission cheating scandal is one of the costliest business scandal ever. The company first suggested a technical problem with the car but finally admitted the software device were designed to cheat the system. Technical problem is sort of machine, process and material that used to make car that causes difficulties for people. Example, use hazardous material on a car like how Volkswagen installing defect device on their clean diesel vehicle. Volkswagen also act dishonest to gain the advantages and they could not find a technical solution within the company time frame and budget to build diesel engine that will meet US emission standard. Initially, the company reported only a limited number of cars were affected. However, as more details were uncovered, the company admit more cars were fit with the device and that this action occurred over a longer period of time than originally reported. Volkswagen report that 11 million of its vehicles were equipped with the software that was used to check on emission tests. Many customers was affected by the Volkswagen scandal. From other resources, John German, who uncovered that Volkswagen had installed sophisticated software designed to check strict emission tests across the world. The reason behind Volkswagen action was they want to evade standard on diesel emission. The company's faulty initial response to the scandal has clearly made the road ahead a bigger challenge for them. In response to the scandal, Volkswagen published a video statement from CEO Martin Whitcomb. CEO Martin Whitcomb willing to cooperate to do everything necessary in order to reverse the damage this has caused and provide an apology. After Volkswagen scandal, they took time to recover their business and they need to fix all those cars to comply with emission regulation in the countries. In fact, a recent poll of American attitude toward 100 large companies put Volkswagen in last place. A poll is opinion of population to vote during an election. Volkswagen got last place due to their attitude toward unethical behavior that lost their credibility and general moral.
Moving forward, what do you think Volkswagen needs to do to avoid such an ethical lapse in the future? So, by referring to the theory which states that the managers can do a number of things if they are seriously encouraging ethical behavior such as hiring employees with high ethical standards, establish codes of ethics and lead by example and so forth. With this, a good organization and management among the teams in a business can be built. Employee selection should be viewed as an opportunity to learn about the level of moral development, personal values, and locus of control. Moreover, an organization's managers play an important role here, which is the one who is responsible for creating an environment and encouraging employees to embrace the culture and desired values as they do their job. Plus, codes of ethics is a set of principles and rules used by individuals and organizations to govern their decision-making process. Based on the theory, it is a formal statement of organizations' values that expects employees to follow and a popular choice for reducing ambiguity.
Now, I will discuss the relationship between theory that were earlier explained by Fatin with case study. Manager can do many things if they really want to encouraging ethical behavior like hire employee with high ethical standard, establish code of ethics and many more. With this, organization can become more successful. But in Volkswagen, they do not do the thing that can encourage ethical behavior. So this could lead to unethical behavior either among employee or employer itself. In terms of employee selection, Volkswagen do not completely done selection process which are interview, test and background check. With this, they do not learn about an individual level of moral development, personal value and locus of strength. This way, it could lead to Volkswagen manager to become more arrogant to assume that US government or other official will not discover the misleading emission test. In Code of Ethics and Decision Rule in Volkswagen, they have code ethic that need to follow. But CEO Martin Winterkorn does not emphasize the software code to accomplish the mission. This is also the reason why a blatant ethical violation occurs.
The next theory is under the leadership at the top. In doing business, ethically, it requires a commitment from the manager at all levels, but especially the top level. So, we can see in this case study when CEO Martin Winterkorn resigned, which is in response to the scandal issues that initially claimed not to know about the device. After that, many high-ranking executives were suspended and also no one is sure who knew about the software. Next, the job and the goal performance appraisal. The goal achievement is usually a key issue in performance appraisal. This is to encourage the ethical behavior. Both end and means should be evaluated. In Volkswagen issues, it been shown by Winterkorn, who reinforced the unique culture that has been described as a hard-driving perfectionist who was committed to securing the top spot among global car manufacturers. He was known to criticize employees publicly, and this generated both fear among employees and the commitment to do whatever necessary. This is actually to ensure the company's success. Next, the independent social audit. In this case study, the Volkswagen had realized all of the damage of this ethical blunder for a long time. So, this is evaluate the decision and management practices. The term of organization code of ethics, it increased that likelihood to maintain for integrity. For the auditors, they should be responsible to the company's board. In the conclusion, the defeating system in ethics at Volkswagen can be related to this theory. According to the Code of Ethics, leadership at top, job goals and performance appraisal, and also independent social audit. The ethics that had been occurred must be prevented in others' organization and company. Okay, that's all for the theory from me. So I will pass to other members to do the relationship.
Now, I will discuss about the relationship between theory and the case study. which the theory was explained by Aina just now. Firstly, leadership of top. In Volkswagen, managers at all levels, but especially the top level, do not commitment doing business ethically. CEO Martin Winterkorn, who resigned in response to the scandals, initially claimed not know about the devices, while many high-ranking executives were suspended. No one is sure who know about or authorized the software. Next, we move to job goals and performance appraisals. In Volkswagens, their goals achievement are unrealistic. This is because Winterkorn, who reinforced the unique culture, described as a hard-driving perfectionist who committed to securing the top spot among global car manufacturers. He was known to criticize employees publicly, and this generated both fear among employees and the commitment to do whatever necessary to ensure the company's success. This totally will not encourage ethical behavior. And lastly, we have independent social audits. Independent social audits fail to evaluate decisions and management practices in terms of organization's code of ethics and be responsible to company's board of directors and presents their findings directly to the board. This is because it will be a long time before Volkswagen realize all of the damage of this ethical blunder.
Okay, that's all from us. Thank you.